Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Asia Solar Energy for Climate Change Conference organized by CarbonCare InnoLab. My name's Fun, and I'm honored to be the moderator for today's sections, Solar-Powered Resilient Community, Driving a Just Transition in Asia, where we will be addressing critical questions. How do we ensure Asia's renewable energy transition benefits to everyone, but not just a few selected fields? So together we will explore the practical models and also on-the-ground examples from across the regions. So I'm very excited to welcome three of our remarkable speakers who've pioneering different approach to just transitions. So first, let me introduce Dr. Darren Jern, Principal Researcher at the Asian Energy Study Center, Faculty of Arts and Social Science, Hong Kong Baptist University. Dr. Jern specialized in the political economy and stakeholder dynamic in public open planning, space planning. And his recent research focused on just energy and also low carbon transitions, with particular attention to the trust and responsibility among stakeholders. And some of his recent studies includes Hong Kong's citizen perspective on regional energy collaboration risk in the Greater Bay Area, and also the trust gap in Japan's energy transition post-Fukushima. Next, we have Dr. Phoebe Chen, a sociologist and also social entrepreneur committed to promoting sustainable energy for all. And in 2015, she founded Taiwan's first citizen power plant platform, followed by the Taiwan Green Energy for Charity Association in 2018. Dr. Chen leads the Greenwell 100 Plus and also Gender Wave Net Zero initiative to empower everyone for an equitable and also sustainable future. She's currently served on the Taiwan Climate Change Response Just Transition Committees. Finally, we are joined by Ms. Roby Halep, Executive Director, Right Energy Partnership with Indigenous People, REP in short. Roby is from the Kalankuya and Kakanoan indigenous people in the Cordillera region, Philippines. And REP is an indigenous-led multi-stakeholder partnership with the goal of increasing renewable energy systems that respect human rights and also leveraging the leadership of indigenous people in the transition of renewable energy in the ways that are consistent with their self-determined needs and also the development aspirations. Thank you all for joining us today. And for today's sections, each of our speakers will present their remarks first. And once they have finished all the remarks, we will move to a Q&A sections. So please feel free to use the chat box or the Q&A box at any time during the presentation to share your thoughts or questions, and then we will address them during the Q&A sections. So, all right, let's get started now. So may I invite Ms. Roby Halep to kick off our today's sections. Roby, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Fun. Let me share my screen. Okay, let me go to the first. Okay, yes. Thank you for this opportunity for us to be able to share the work that we do in the Right Energy Partnership with Indigenous Peoples. It was established in 2018 as a result of our engagement in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, particularly on SDG 7, where discussions that were happening there earlier were talking about deployment of large-scale renewable energy technologies and clean cooking technologies, but not looking at the human rights implications to indigenous peoples, and also not looking at how to make it a bottom-up approach to make sure that communities manage and govern their own renewable energy systems. So the Right Energy Partnership, as mentioned, is an indigenous-led multi-stakeholder partnership. And our first aim is to ensure that projects that are being renewable energy projects, including mining of critical minerals, are implemented in indigenous people's territories, respect and uphold our rights. That means implementation of free, prior, and informed consent before any projects are implemented in our territories, but also addressing the effective remedy mechanisms should also be in place to make sure that affected indigenous communities by these projects have an avenue to go to for the redress of their grievances. The second part of our work is actually in relation to facilitating, generating support for indigenous peoples-led renewable energy initiatives. These initiatives, if I may say, did not just start because of the boom of the just transition. No? These initiatives that indigenous peoples have been happening for decades, because as we know, indigenous peoples host a lot of renewable energy projects within our territories, but it's us who don't have access to energy, even if those projects are within our territory. So we find ways to be able to address the needs and priorities that we have in our communities. Now, to share you some of the work that we've been doing, this is in Cambodia in partnership with the UNDP GEF Small Grants Program. We implemented two projects in Cambodia. One is in a community that was submerged by the Lower Sasan Dam too. So the first picture up at the left side, that's the old village. That was flooded. 40 indigenous people's households had to be relocated to the new area. So the photo down to the left is the settlement area where indigenous peoples coming from the old dam site were resettled. Now, as you can see, it has nothing, no? And indigenous peoples, when they were resettled in that area, did not have access to clean water. They had to travel 2 hours by hand tractor to be able to get water from the dam site. And they've been experiencing health concerns, no, from the water from the dam site. So they requested for a project, a solar water pump project, to pump water from the dam site, but also to put in water filter to make sure that the health concerns are also addressed. So the picture to the right that you see is a solar water pump project that was implemented through the partnership that we had with UNDP. And it helped the community a lot in relation to access to clean water. It the 2 hours traveled by hand tractor was so difficult for everyone to be getting water from the dam site. And this project has provided them a more convenient way within their new resettlement area to have clean water, but also sanitation. This project was complemented by another foundation from Latin America where they provided sanitation services for the community. The second project that we have in Cambodia is in Mondulkiri. It's also a solar water pump project in an ecotourism area in Mondulkiri, and the indigenous community needed that to be able to maintain their ownership and governance of the 600 hectares territory that was entrusted to them by the government. And the solar water pump has been supporting their ecotourism project, but has also been a way for them to maintain their sacred area and agricultural sites. The second photo that you see here is a project implemented by one of the partners of the Right Energy Partnership in Malaysia, Tunibung. Tunibung is an indigenous-led organization that's been working on community-based renewable energy for 2 decades now. This photo that you see here are solar panels that were installed in fishing communities in the villages of Pitas, Laut, and Dagat. Now, earlier, this community didn't have any access to energy, but they've also been having problems in relation to the storage of the seafood that they are collecting from the coastal area. Now, with these solar panels, it not only provided the community electrification, but also strengthened their traditional livelihood through fishing because they were able to produce ice and they used the ice to properly store the seafoods that were collected from from the lakes. Now, when we talk about indigenous peoples-led renewable energy initiatives, we're not just talking about addressing energy poverty within indigenous communities. It's not just about providing electrification for households, no? It's also about eliminating the use of diesel run generators because many off-grid indigenous communities are very much reliant on diesel run generators. But with renewable energy, this provides them an option to eliminate the use of these diesel run generators. It also strengthens the governance, collective governance of indigenous peoples, not only of their renewable energy initiatives, but also to their land and resources. Because when these indigenous peoples-led renewable energy initiatives are set up, you also need to do community organizing. You also need to strengthen the capacity of the community to be able to govern and manage their own renewable energy systems. That's the only way that you can ensure the sustainability of these initiatives that are being implemented at the community level. And you also need to strengthen their decision making system to make sure that Indigenous women and youth and other marginalized groups within the community are part of the decision making not only on not only on the management and operation of the renewable energy system, but also to their land and resources. And it also strengthens traditional livelihood practice. Again, that's the sustainability component of these IP-led renewable energy initiatives, because you don't just provide electrification, but also help them strengthen and enhance their traditional livelihood practices by providing um, proper storage for their seafood collections, or proper drying of the non-timber forest products that's collected from the forest. And in the wider aspect, it also strengthens the natural resource management because we can only continue our culture, our tradition, our traditional livelihoods if our forest, our biodiversity are also intact. Um, but that's not the only thing that we do. No? In Asia, we're planning to establish a regional learning hub on Indigenous peoples-led renewable energy for Indigenous peoples to come together to build their skills and capacities and bring it back to their countries and establish their own community-led renewable energy systems. Aside from establishing regional learning hubs, we also establish South Indigenous peoples to Indigenous peoples exchange. We won't be playing the video, but this is a project that we implemented in Kalimantan, Indonesia, where Tunibong went to Indonesia to train the community on how to establish their own mini hydro system, but also they brought the technology with them. It was difficult logistically because they had to bring it by boat. These big turbines, these big pipes had to be brought by boat. But that's the thing, no? You not only strengthen learning among indigenous peoples, but you also strengthen technology exchange, and you strengthen solidarity between indigenous peoples in different countries. Why is the video playing? And then lastly, what we also do is at the regional and global level, we strengthen the solidarity of indigenous peoples in building common positions on the just transition, on the challenges that we face, but also the initiatives that we put forward. So you can see here the declarations and the roadmaps that were developed at the global and at the regional level. The one that we had for Asia was focusing on Indigenous women and youth and their experience and initiatives in advancing their own renewable energy initiatives. If you want to know more about our work, you can check our website, and you can also contact us through that email. Again, thank you for this opportunity and looking forward to the discussions.
Thank you, Roby. And I mean, your work highlight how Indigenous-led renewable energy initiative, like you have mentioned about the solar water pump project and also the solar PV battery mini grid, and how this project can address the energy poverty and also support the traditional livelihood and empower the communities. Especially you have highlight about the women and also the youth and all the marginalized communities. And I think you have mentioned about the regional learning hub, and I think this is a really amazing initiative where you share a platform we can exchange and foster the knowledge exchange. It's really a brilliant initiative. Definitely, we come back in the discussion sections. So, let's welcome Dr. Phoebe Chen to share her work in Taiwan. So, Phoebe, the floor is yours.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. And also see my share screen.
Yes, we're seeing that.
Okay. Hello, everyone. And it's a great honor to have this opportunity to join this conference. Today, I want to share the story I have been working hard on, empowering everyone for an equitable and sustainable future. I'm Phoebe, the founder of Taiwan Green Energy for Charity Association. My journey into energy issue began with my doctoral dissertation. In my research on solar energy in Taiwan, I discovered that citizen participation is the biggest challenge in the energy transition. So after graduation in 2015, I created Taiwan's first citizen power plant platform. And in 2018, I further founded the Taiwan Green Energy for Charity Association, dedicated to share the benefits of renewable energy with vulnerable communities. Today, I also serve on Taiwan's National Climate Change Response Committee under the Office of the President, and on the Just Transition Committee under the National Development Council. I think the problem I want to address is energy inequality, because in the process of energy transition, vulnerable people are often the most affected, yet the latest able to make a change. Now, let me share you the TGECA is working and to achieve our vision. The first, in 2021, we launched the Green Well 100 initiative, aiming to complete 100 green energy charity projects by 2030. And second, in 2024, we established the Taiwan Gender Network for Net Zero. Through the Gender Wealth Net Zero initiative, we advanced gender-responsive just transition projects. To make the energy transition more just, we created 3 innovative solutions: the Green Energy Charity Model, the Green Electricity Charity Model, and the Carbon Reduction Charity Model. And first, the Green Energy Charity Model, we will bring together the donations from companies and the public to install solar PV systems or purchase solar panels for vulnerable people. And through Taiwan's renewable energy feed-in tariff policy, these projects not only generate green electricity and reduce carbon emissions, but also provides long-term financial support for vulnerable communities. We have partnered with many companies to carry out green energy charity projects. One example is our collaboration with Taiwan Mobile, with support from the company and its supply chain, and customers and the general public. We have brought renewable energy benefits to 8 social welfare organizations. In addition, we also partnered with Kasei Financial Holdings to install solar PV systems for indigenous communities affected by climate disasters. We also joined hands with Citibank to implement green energy charity solutions to help elderly care center and mental health institutions to save their electricity cost. And our green energy charity actions also light up the more indigenous communities in Taiwan. And second, the green electricity charity model. We support the sheltered workshop to use green electricity. So far, we have held 30 green sheltered workshop for people with disabilities. Today, they produce cookies or handmade soap and even provide laundry service. They were powered by renewable electricity. And third, the carbon reduction charity model. We will help social welfare organizations to improve their energy efficiency and even applying for certified carbon credits. And our first carbon reduction charity project replaced about 300 old lights in a center for people with disabilities. The result is we save about roughly 4,000 US dollars in electricity cost over the next 10 years and generate around 180 tons of carbon credits. To expand our impact in 2021, TGECA launched the Greenwell 100 initiative. We aiming to complete 100 green energy charity projects by 2030. And I believe the Greenwell 100 Plus initiative is more than charity. It's a strategy that turns ESG to action and given back to society. More stakeholders, carbon emissions at the same time. Until now, we have donated more than 5,700 solar panels and benefiting over 1,300 individuals, including children, the elderly, and persons with disabilities and other marginalized communities. In summary, by establishing more net zero demonstration sites and advancing green energy charity projects, our main goal is to achieve a just transition to net zero that leaves no one behind. And in recent years, I have also recognized the importance of gender responsive just transition. According to the IEA, the net zero transition will create tens of millions of green jobs worldwide. But at the same time, the gender gap is widening. The Lincoln report says that 9 out of 10 women have been left behind in the energy transition because they lack access to these green skills. That's why TGECA launched the Women Energy Auditors Training Program in 2024. And we provide it with childcare service so that mothers can bring their children and learn together. By doing so, we will remove one of the biggest barriers to women's participation in green energy training. We also lead our women energy auditors to serve in social welfare organizations. And even more importantly, I believe the empowerment must start early, and every mother could be a girl. That's why we created the Climbing Girl Empowerment Camp to inspire more young girls to take actions for the future they want. In summary, TGECA has mobilized a wide range of stakeholders to take part in the net zero transition, including the government and the business and the non-profit organization and more than 10,000 people. In addition, we have empowered more than 200 women and girls. Some of them have become the trainees of our SDG Shiro group. They can writing reports or teaching classes or serving as assistants. And this year we will take 5 young girls to participate in the climate week in New York and the COP30. And finally, from 1 person to 10 of thousands, my journey has been about turning my vision into reality. I want to, and I hope to empower people to build an equitable and sustainable future for all. And thank you for your listening. Together, let's be the change for the future we want. Thank you.
Thank you, Phoebe. It's a really inspiring sharing. And I think your discussion has mentioned about 3 core charity models, and then it's beautifully highlight how you're bridging the diverse resources to support the vulnerable groups. And also you have mentioned about the gender responsive strategies to empowering the women and show us how the solar powered initiative can actually promote the just transition and also to promote a sustainable development in our communities. Thank you so much for that. And now let's move to our final speakers. May I invite Dr. Darren Jern to share his insights. Darren, over to you.
So, all right, could you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. No, thank you very much, Fun. Okay, so my name is Darren. So I'm from Hong Kong Baptist University. So as like we are a research institute, so that my sharing is more like from a research aspect, and then to talk about the development of like solar development in Hong Kong. So from a just transition perspective. Okay, so a little bit of overview about the Asian solar development. So over the last 30 years, like we see that so there were a lot of like solar development in the area in East Asia, whether in East Asia or in Southeast Asia. So we grow from large scale solar farms and also to decentralize the systems. So we see that on one hand, so there were more large scales, more higher efficiency of solar farms developed in China, in other places around the world, especially in Southeast Asia and the East Asian region. Okay, so these are some of the numbers that we got. Okay, so then, but how about in Hong Kong? So that's also Hong Kong. So our research based in Hong Kong. So so we know that Hong Kong is like just a city, and then okay, so usually when we talk about Hong Kong, so there's like a small city, okay, with limited space, okay, and then what do we do? Okay, so that here we introduce like 3 research that we did. Okay, so one of them is about, so we first we want to collect the Hong Kong citizens the idea. Okay, so what's the perception so about the climate action strategy in Hong Kong? Okay, especially in terms of the renewable energy development and also the solar development. Okay, so we want to know whether they are aware of the solar development, and whether would they support that, and whether they think about this as like it is a just or it is like a responsive like actions like from the government. And then okay, we want to understand, okay, from a perspective like that is like we talk to Carbon Care Indolab a lot, okay, in terms of like whether do we have a we ensure a just energy transition in terms of like the company workers, in terms of the private sector's participation, in terms of the low income households, like whether the energy security or energy affordability could be preserved. Okay, so this is some of the ideas behind, and then we want to ask the Hong Kong citizens' perspective. Okay, so this is a brief timeline. Also, we conducted everything in 2024. Okay, so we done interviews, and then we done a deliberate polling with the Hong Kong citizens, and we also done a telephone survey. Okay, so well, So in terms of the interview results, like, okay, I highlighted some of the main findings. Okay, so well, so this is one idea. Okay, so well, everyone think this. Okay, in fact, most of the citizens also echo this idea that we think that we want to prioritize like local renewable energy development, especially in terms of solar. Okay, so why do we have this ideas like we want to bring it up? Because like there are, so because Hong Kong, so there are rhetorics or discourse about Hong Kong as a city, and then we need to collaborate with like mainland China and then to import energy. So there is always like from the government and then in the society, so there is always discourses about that. So this is why, okay, so when we ask the stakeholders and we watch the Hong Kong citizens, that they all come to the point that so we should so try our best and then to develop the local renewable energy, especially solar, okay, as much as possible before we go ahead and then to find collaboration, especially the regional cooperation to import energy. So we have to do our job first. Okay, so this is like the mind. So something that is related to justice that in their mind. Okay, and then this is about, okay, they do care about the distribution of cost of benefit on solar energy. Okay, now for example, so they will talk about, so okay, or where the poor people or will be suffered a lot. Okay, we have a lot of so we developed too much solar energy. So because like the feed-in tariff, like so that is in place in Hong Kong. So because like well, if like we have to purchase the solar energy and other sorts of other types of renewable energies, so with a higher rate of tariff, okay, so then well, there may cause a issue, that there may be an issue for energy affordability. So then, okay, so some statistics that we collected, okay, then I show it here. Okay, so in terms of like different types of renewable energy development, so then, okay, the most supported is solar energy compared to other types of waste to energy, etc. So well, who is responsible to doing that? So well, basically Hong Kong government and also the electricity company. Well, but so basically everyone is like going to be involved, but the highest like responsible, they should take the responsibility is the government who will be able to set up the policy for supporting the community solar development. Okay, however, so what happened is like, well, in terms of the trust level, okay, so whether you trust the government is doing the job, then well, they get the lowest score. And then, well, do people just trust the government in doing the things in climate change, whether they would like support renewable energy development and also solar development in terms of to combat climate change? Like, the people don't think that it is like the government is doing the job. Okay, so then, okay, we also do, so we move on to another research, okay, and then we got some comments like from the interviewees and also the responses, like, what did they actually say? Okay, so well, because like they don't trust about the government, so they think that commercial sector should be in place and then to do some part of the job. Okay, so they are so. Well, with the help, like, well, they could like scale up the development, okay, of environmental initiative, okay, and also they are good, like they could bring in some ideas for small scale, okay, solar development, especially in terms of like community solar development. On the other hand, okay, so universities and academic research institutions, so just like us, so they think that well, it is there is a place for us like to get engaged, okay, so that we could be, so because like they envision that, so we are neutral, okay, compared to other parties, okay, so that we could like line up and moderate the process like in this solar development, okay, and also so as I said, okay, our participants think that well, there were limited land resources in Hong Kong, so then well, we should not go for large-scale solar projects, but instead, okay, well, we could like support more decentralized solar. Okay, so then, well, this is we move on to another research project that we did. Okay, so that we try to come up with like so-called the community energy cooperative models. Well, I mean, in the other part of the world, like such as the US, for example, that's we put it here. So then, well, there are some ideal situation and also some undesirable situation for developing this kind of solar cooperatives. So we want to ask like whether people have the vision in developing that. Okay, so then we try to to ask some community residents. Okay, so this is the Ferry Park. Okay, so that's one of our research sites. And then we ask whether they want to do that. Okay, and then they want to do it with us. Okay, so what do they think about that? Okay, well, they think that, well, it is good, especially with the help of like some commercials and also from the university. Well, they are willing to do that. Okay, so to set up a co-op and then to try. So compared to other places like, well, like such as in Taiwan or in Japan, okay, well, they are more advanced. They have already developed it. So this model for like a decade already. But in Hong Kong, well, it is like in terms of the residential estate, so per se, well, it is still in the infant stage. Okay, they are still coming up with that idea. Well, but not much is happening. So, but having said that, okay, so but we also did like we also collaborated with Carbon Care InnoLab and then to do a solar map, okay, and then to document what are the community solar projects that we did. And then we found that like NGO is one of the particular area that that could be much faster in developing these community solars. Okay, so in terms of the NGO sectors, for example, so because of the visions, okay, in the environmental protection, and also because of like they want to educate the next generation, so they are more keen to like doing this kind of solar panel development with the support of like the commercial capital. And also, so our university is also doing that. So with some philanthropies, okay, support, okay, so then we're going to develop some and also some other schools like in Hong Kong. So because like so we want to engage the community and then to learn about the solar energy and also the solar development and also the technology behind. So this is why, well, some of the educational values they would like to add on in order to develop like this kind of like solar development models. Okay, so okay, so time is limited, so I just want to come back to the conclusion, and then so well, if you ask the people, so they think that, so if the government doing that, so that they have a lot of concerns. So then it is the commercial sector and it is the civil society to do their job. Okay, so then well, they think that the government, well, the information is not very transparent, the intention, the question, and then, well, they don't trust about the government abilities. So then, or the way to do it is that people will be more eager to see more multiple multi-stakeholders partnership in Hong Kong, and then in terms of like community-based solar development. So we see that like NGO-based solar development is growing. So with the help of like solar Carbon Care InnoLab. But however, so in terms of like the residential community, so then okay, we are trying to do in the next phase of the research, we're trying to do more experimental models, and then so that see whether it is feasible for us to help them to like to get into a more cooperative like solar community models. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Darren. It's a really comprehensive presentation just within like 10 minutes time. And thank you so much for sharing. I think just like you have mentioned a lot, we have a lot of collaborations because we understand that it is important for we have the multi-stakeholder partnerships in the just energy transition. And also we emphasize the importance of how we can protecting the workers or like protecting the low income families and ensure equitable like private sector participation and also securing the energy access for the low-income household as well. And I can see like a very clear connections between all of our speakers. Like each of you actually have engaged different stakeholders, like from the governments and also the charities, to the corporations and also the indigenous community as well. So like building on this, I want to take the privilege to ask the first question to all our panelists, like from your experience engaging with such diverse parties, I guess you often come with challenges, right? So can you share a little bit about what strategies you found that is effective to getting your stakeholder buy-in, and how might this approach share today? Like, I guess some of the audience also face these challenges as well, and how your advice for them to overcome these challenges. And so this is a question for all, and then feel free to chip in.
Okay, let me start. In terms of partnership that we had, as I mentioned earlier, the partnerships that we had in relation to community-based renewable energy initiatives is more with UN agencies, but also with private foundations from other countries. I think one of the challenges that we experience when you deal with also with governments and UN agencies, no, the the funding is not flexible. It's quite tied up to um, project output. The budget line is also tied up to what you need to bring out from the project, and administratively, it's quite taxing for many Indigenous peoples' organizations to be implementing the project while at the same time complying with a long list of supporting documents and administrative requirements that are required by this agency. So, what we've been calling for is one, direct access to financing, but also a flexible financing that allows Indigenous organizations, Indigenous communities to be able to define how they will implement the project, but also giving that flexibility for Indigenous organizations to not be tied up. We should operate based on trust, no? That this money that will be given to the community will be implemented to address their needs and priorities. But it's also been quite difficult to fundraise for community-based renewable energy initiatives because with the private sector, what they're looking for is a return of investment, which is equated to profit. But for indigenous communities, you won't have that. Now, there may be in the livelihood component of these renewable energy initiatives, but it won't be that much. The ROI that you would get in investing in indigenous communities would be the protection of the forest, the protection of biodiversity, and the protection of the coastal areas, which are hectares and hectares of land. No? So I think it's also good to look at from that aspect that return of investment doesn't have to be profit. Return of investment can come in different forms with different communities and organizations that you are working with.
Yes, totally agree. I mean, finance is always the biggest challenges. And I guess like Phoebe, you have mentioned about three very innovative like models that is like engage with different corporates and how to channel the funding from the private sector, and then how to channeling the funding to help the vulnerable groups. So do you have any insights to share about this?
Okay, I think we want to invite more stakeholders to participate in green energy charity projects. The most important thing is to create value for all of the stakeholders. For example, in the green energy charity projects, we create value for the companies to do more to do better ESG solutions. And it also engage their customer or their supply chain, like the Taiwan Mobile company. They not only donated from the one company, they also engage their ESG stakeholders to participate in and expand their social impact to the public to join the solar energy charity projects. I think the value created is very important for invite more stakeholders. But from the other side, I also recognize the gender responsive initiative is very important, especially in recent years. We are make more effort to promote more women to participate in. And I think today all the speakers we share a common dream we want to invite more people, maybe youth or maybe women, to participate in just energy transition. I think the important for women. I think the most I recommend, if we want to invite more women to participate in the green job, we have to do more things. Maybe like we have to reduce their barriers for women participate in the green training program. Therefore, we have the children, the child care. Maybe we also need elderly care for the women, and they can have their time, or they can join the green skill training program, and they can participate in the future green jobs. But I think the most important issue is the social and cultural norms. We have to change the ideal type. Maybe women only can be more like me. I'm a sociologist. They cannot imagine someone like me, a woman and a sociologist. We can also participate in green energy industry. But the innovation is very interesting. It's just from the women, we have the different perspective. Maybe we are more concerned about the justice. Therefore, we have more innovative green energy charity and just transition projects or actions. And I think the social and cultural norms to encourage and strengthen more young women to participate will be very important strategy to invite more women to participate in the green industry. I think this is the most important to implement gender responsive policy in Taiwan and maybe in the worldwide. I think this is the most important thing we have to do. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally agree with that. Like for the core value of just transition, we have talked a lot about the women or the indigenous people or the marginalized people. And for me, I really agree that for a just transition, we need a partnership, and we need all the marginalized voices matters, right? And then how we can engage the vulnerable groups in the transition is really the important thing. And then I think Roby and also Phoebe, you have shared a lot of experience how you can engage and also how you overcome the barriers. Like the women audit program is really amazing, right? I do see there are some questions coming in. So here is a question for all speakers. I'm concerned about the long-term effectiveness and sustainability of all these excellent initiatives in Cambodia, Indonesia, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and across Asia. What kind of monitoring framework could these projects across Asia shared by all three speakers adopt to track both energy and also social outcomes? How can this help community and local authority work together to institutionalize and decide where to expand next? So I guess it's more like about the monitoring, about the effectiveness and sustainability of the project. Anyone want to chip in?
Maybe I share a little bit more. Okay, so so this will be boiled down to 2 points. So for one point that so we are again, so we are from the university. So one apart from doing research, we also do the education, with the society. So our university, so for the last few years, I think we collaborate with like outside partners, like apart from you guys like Common Care InnoLab. We also collaborated with like intellectually disadvantaged schools, okay, so that and also some women's organization, so that we try to like engage them to try to empower them, okay, apart from like developing some education tools for them, okay, so we want to engage them in our research project. So this way I think like well, the one thing we want to create ownership, like, so although we are doing like community solar projects like with some of the dedicated or some of the case communities of our research, but we also want the society, okay, to engage in it, okay, and so that well when we want to conduct some community activities, so we want the community schools, and then so whether they are just normal schools or they are just like intellectually disadvantaged group of people, so these vulnerable groups are one, so we want them to be part of it. So this is one thing, and the other thing is that, okay, so as partly shared in my presentation, so we emphasize the importance of data sharing. Okay, one thing is that, okay, we want to document, okay, the environmental impact like of all the solar system in Hong Kong, so as much as possible. And on the other hand, we also want to document that, okay, which places like in Hong Kong so could be still be vacant and then could still be open for developing more solar projects. So this is like important. So we want the society and we want the government to be able to know that. So well, there are also there are more efforts that could be done in the society. So before you say that, so you need you need to look at other energy sources like from other places. Like so there are much more that you could do. Okay, and the society could be done. So this is like some of the two things that I think like that we could like do more to engage, to empower, and also to sort of like by using the data sharing where we want the this information could be part of the monitoring mechanism for the society. Thank you.
From our end, in relation to long-term effectiveness and sustainability, it's also the ownership that you need to strengthen at the community level, and that was what I was explaining a while ago on the technical part of installation and all that. That's 10% of the work at the community level. 90% of that is community organizing and also hand-holding for the community to be able to operate and manage their own renewable energy system. And for example, the experience of our partner in Malaysia, in Tunibung, it would take 3 to 5 years for the community to be able to operate and manage on their own. You need to establish committees, you need to strengthen their collective governance to make sure that they're able to run the system on their own, even the collection, because to be able to sustain those initiatives, there has to be some form of payments from households using the facility to be able to maintain the system, and the community has to be united in terms of the protocols that will be followed for the collection system, how it will be used, and the committees will also have to decide in relation to the maintenance and regular operation of the systems. But the other component of that is, of course, as I mentioned earlier, the traditional livelihood. Non-timber forest products that are collected from the forest are dried in solar panels, how do you call that? Solar dryers that are powered by either mini hydro systems or solar panels, and these are sold to the market to enhance economic opportunities for the community. So those are the some of the things at the community level. But the work of the REP, it cuts across Africa, Asia, and Latin America, and that's why it's important that we have regional learning hubs to make sure that there's a hub where indigenous peoples can go to for questions that they have, but also for interlearning and also support for indigenous peoples in the different countries in relation to renewable energy initiatives.
Yes, Phoebe, please go ahead.
I'm not sure I catch your problem, but I want to answer the question about how to monitor the implementation effectiveness in a difficult question. But in one side, the solar power plant, we will have monitor to monitor the performance of these solar power plants through monitoring equipment. And in recent days, we are also currently planning for to train the female power plant maintenance technicians. And we want to make sure all the green energy charity projects will operate and consistent, more sustainable. And in other side, regarding how to make sure the training program really change the to empower their ability. We not only establish the maybe the question to answer or to have the training group to consistently guide these women and girls to ensure then they can continue growth and take actions. This will ensure that they not only receive one more just one courses, but are engaged in ongoing action with us. We are not, more expand our social impact to how to monitor our social impact. We are now developing a gender net zero tracker, something like that. We want to find some to identify some indicators to monitor and check whether the net zero transition and gender responsive is combined to progress. And this work is in progress, and we look forward to sharing with you the information with you in the future. And I hope everything we are doing, we must consistent to monitor the our social impact and monitor the efficiency. I think this is very important to do right thing and to do the things better. I think this is very difficult, but it's important. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the response. And I think it's quite clear that it is important to involve the different stakeholders within the whole transition process. All of us have mentioned about the importance of empowerment and also the regional the knowledge hub. And it is like for the monitoring process, we need to include different parties within the process. And then it is not only empower them with the hands-on skills, but also like foster a deeper sense of ownership. And so we have the connections with the project, and that's why we can like be more aware about what's happening in our community. I guess this is really the key takeaway from all of your response. And then also we have another questions, which is for Ruby and Phoebe. And how can we integrate indigenous-led energy principles into other indigenous or local community across Asia? And how can this ensure that mini-grid and water pumps not only respect community rights, but also provide reliable and also community-driven benefits for women, youth, and elders? Although Ruby has answered online, it may be great if you can share a little bit more as well.
Okay. So the work of the Right Energy Partnership, it's not just ensuring that Indigenous people's rights are respected, but also ensuring that energy provided to Indigenous communities are affordable and reliable. The affordability I mentioned in my written response, our partner in Malaysia, Tunibo, has been recycling aluminum cans and plastics to make into turbines for mini hydro for the mini hydro systems because it's quite expensive importing importing the pumps and the other parts of the mini hydro system. So the circular economy is the circular economy component of the RE work is so important, especially for communities to make renewable energy systems more affordable for them. On reliability, coastal areas would have greater chances of generating energy from solar panels, but in forest areas, in mountainous areas where a lot of indigenous peoples are, we have to do hybrid source, no? Solar panel and at the same time a mini hydro system to ensure that they have reliable source and stable source of energy within their community. So in the projects, for example, that were implemented in Malaysia, they have two sources of power, the solar panels and a mini hydro system, because it's not always that you would get good sunlight in mountainous areas. But I would just like to add, when we talk about indigenous-led energy principles, in our participation in this, we're quite cautious of the impacts also to other indigenous territories. The production of these clean energy technologies uses minerals and metals that are mined out from other indigenous peoples' territories. So the circular economy of this energy transition is very important because our resources are finite, no? And where these resources are located are also in areas that are rich in biodiversity that's protecting us from destructing our our environment and the earth. So it's important. It's important that in this work that we do on the energy transition, we at the onset already put in place a circular economy and make sure that these resources that are mined out are fully utilized and can also be recycled as much as possible to prevent further destruction in of our forests and our territories. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruby. Phoebe, do you want to answer the question as well?
Maybe I want to share in recent months, Taiwan has experienced several typhoons, and we have suggest the government, and we hope maybe we can suggest the government to encourage more indigenous communities to develop in more solar PV systems and combine the energy storage equipment. This is very important. That in my presentation, the BRY tribe is very far away from Taipei, but in typhoon, they will be very vulnerable in the climate disaster. They will lose their electricity for maybe several hours, maybe several days. So because the green energy charity projects, we can combine the solar power and with the storage. We have helped the indigenous community to build a renewable system with emergency backup. And this is very important to provide the community to they can strengthen their energy resilience, and they are not live in the dark when the typhoon or the climate disasters come in. They will have emergency electricity. I just take this for example, because the climate change is stressing the risk, and especially for the indigenous community. So I think this is a very good opportunity to encourage the government and the community members to promote more renewable energy and combine the storage to provide the energy resilience in the face of climate change. I think this is very important and a good strategy in especially this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Phoebe. You have mentioned about the instance just happening in Taiwan. And then actually we had a panel discussion on this topic yesterday. And then we have like a speaker from Taiwan and also share this experience. And the circular economy is something it's really important when we talk about the resilience. And when we talk about how we can make our renewable energy, how we can make these solutions is really sustainable. It's really important to have like the end of life, the whole cycle assessment, and we really need to take care all of the different processes as well. So, as we are nearing the end of our allocated time, so I just want to ask one of the last questions, and then just a short one. Like, do you have one concrete actions that like other Asian communities can adopt from your work, and then they can like replicate tomorrow, which is exercise how we can drive a just transition within our communities? Just one actions.
Yeah, I think from our end, it's really to strengthen the ownership of communities, the ownership of indigenous people, so that reliance and dependence is not there, but they're able to independently manage and operate their own renewable energy systems.
I have one action for all of you, because we will go to the Climate Week in New York and the COP30. If anyone will join the Climate Week or the COP30, please connect me, and maybe we will have good connection worldwide, and maybe we can discuss in more detail. I think we are all speakers are doing the same thing. We just want to promote the just transition in our country. But I think this is a value for everyone, for all, for the worldwide. Therefore, I think our model can expand to the worldwide, maybe in other countries. I think this is possible. Thank you.
So Darren, do you have any words?
Yeah, so I think like ownership, I think like all the speakers have already mentioned like ownership, and then participation is important. One last thing I would like to suggest, like we would like to also try to introduce some even smaller scale solar for individual households like in the Southeast Asia. So this is what we are going to test, and see like if we could empower the people and then to use more solar and then to support their energy availability. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all your sharing. It's really inspiring to hear all of your work. And then like for today's sections, we have explored unique but connected approach how we can achieve a just energy transition across Asia, from Hong Kong to Taiwan, and also from Philippines, and also the Cambodia. And then we learned a lot different approaches that how we can achieve the just energy transition with our communities. And just want to conclude our panel discussion by using Phoebe's presentation. I guess you have mentioned about the UN principle of leaving no one behind. And I just hope our energy future must be like spellbound and also for all the communities. Thank you so much for all the inspiring sharing today. And I'm looking forward to our next collaboration, maybe in the New York Climate Week or COP30. Thank you so much for today and all the audience for your active participations. And I hope to see you in the next sections. Thank you so much. Thank you.